Have you ever wondered why Satan so desperately wanted the body of Moses after his death? This question might seem unsettling or even bizarre, yet it's deeply rooted in biblical accounts. Moses, a towering figure in history, led the Israelites from the shackles of Egyptian slavery to the doorstep of the Promised Land. He was the conduit for the 10 Commandments, a beacon of hope and faith. But what transpired after his demise was shocking. According to the Bible, God laid Moses to rest in an undisclosed location. Yet, an extraordinary event took place. A fierce confrontation between Angel Michael and Satan over Moses' remains. This isn't a tale spun from thin air, but a reference from the book of Jude, verse 9, where the Archangel Michael and Satan lock horns seriously over the body of Moses. This scenario raises more questions than it answers. So let's explore the biblical events surrounding Moses' death and the reason. Why did Satan fight so hard for Moses' body after his death? The enigmatic death of Moses. Moses, the man who had led the Israelites out of Egypt, who had received the 10 Commandments directly from God, and who had guided his people towards the Promised Land, was now on the verge of death. His life was filled with extraordinary encounters, divine revelations, and powerful miracles. Yet, just before he entered the Promised Land, he made a very serious mistake that almost cost him his ministry. God had specifically asked Moses to speak to the rock so that water would gush out and the children of Israel would drink. But unfortunately, due to the pressure from the Israelites, Moses, out of anger, turned to the people and said, "Must we always bring out water for you to drink?" Although this statement might have sounded innocent, it had very serious consequences. The first mistake Moses made was to use the word "we" instead of saying "God." It was God's power that was to bring out water and not Moses. By saying "we," it meant Moses attributed some level of power to himself. Secondly, Moses struck the rock when God had actually told him to speak to it. Immediately after doing this, God told Moses that he shall no longer enter the Promised Land because of his error. Think about it. Can you imagine all that Moses had gone through just to miss it at the end, after which he died? The book of Deuteronomy 34, 5-6 narrates the event of Moses' death. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no man knows his burial place to this day. This passage tells us that Moses died in the land of Moab, as per God's words. And then in a mysterious and divine act, God himself buried Moses. This is an unusual occurrence in the Bible. God, the creator of the universe, personally involving himself in the burial of a man. It is not often that we hear of God carrying out a burial. This act of divine intervention signifies the special bond that Moses shared with God. Moses was not just a servant of the Lord, he was a friend. In this friendship, we see a remarkable act of love, respect, and honor. But then a question arises. Why did God choose to bury Moses in a secret place? Why was the location of his grave kept hidden from the world? The answer to this question takes us into a deeper exploration of God's wisdom and Satan's cunning plans, where we find Michael the Archangel and Satan locked in a fierce dispute, not here on earth, but in the heavenly realms. This was no ordinary argument. Satan came to claim the body of Moses. His audacious move is met with resistance by none other than Michael the Archangel. The Bible doesn't provide us with all the details of this celestial confrontation, but we know that Michael, standing firm in his divine duty, resisted Satan's claim. Michael, an archangel of great power and authority, stood his ground. However, he did not rebuke Satan in his own name or power. Instead, he said, "The Lord rebuke you." Here we see the humility and wisdom of the Archangel Michael, who acknowledges that the power to rebuke Satan comes from God alone. One might wonder why a celestial being like Satan would be so interested in the mortal remains of Moses. What could he possibly gain from possessing the body of a man who had already passed away? Firstly, there is a chance that Satan wanted to prevent Moses from being resurrected or assumed into heaven. Satan might have wrongly assumed that God planned to take Moses into heaven just like Elijah or Enoch. In the Gospel of Matthew 17, Moses appeared with Elijah on the Mount of Transfiguration with Jesus. Satan, being the cunning adversary that he is, may have tried to stop this from happening by taking possession of Moses' body. Satan's motives: unraveling the darkness. To comprehend why Satan desired Moses' body, we must delve into the nature and motivations of the adversary himself. Satan, whose name means accuser or adversary, is often seen as the embodiment of rebellion against God. His actions are typically driven by a desire to thwart God's plans and corrupt his creation. Disruption of divine plans. Moses was instrumental in establishing the covenant between God and Israel, a covenant symbolized by the law. By seeking to possess Moses' body, could Satan have been attempting to disrupt or desecrate this covenant? The law was more than a set of rules. It was a divine blueprint for living in harmony with God's will. Corrupting the body of the lawgiver might have been seen as a way to undermine the foundation of this divine relationship. Claiming authority over death. In Christian theology, Satan is often associated with death and the power of the grave. By claiming Moses' body, was Satan trying to assert his dominion over death itself, challenging God's ultimate authority over life and death? This power struggle over Moses' remains might symbolize a deeper battle for control over the mortal realm. Symbolic power of Moses' body. Moses was not just any prophet, he was the mediator of God's law, the one who spoke with God face to face. Exodus 33:11. His body therefore held symbolic power. Possessing it could have given Satan a perceived leverage in his ongoing rebellion. Was there a mystical energy or authority imbued in Moses' remains that Satan sought to harness for his dark purposes? Mystical interpretations and ancient traditions. Beyond the canonical texts, various mystical traditions and apocryphal writings offer further insights into this celestial conflict. These sources, while not universally accepted, provide rich, imaginative explanations that deepen our understanding of the mystery. The Assumption of Moses. The apocryphal text known as the Assumption of Moses provides a fuller account of the events alluded to in Jude. According to this tradition, Moses' soul was taken to heaven, but his body remained on earth. Satan, seeing an opportunity, claimed that Moses was a murderer, referring to the slaying of the Egyptian, and thus unworthy of a divine burial. This accusation highlights Satan's role as the accuser, always seeking to highlight the sins and shortcomings of humanity. Kabbalistic perspectives. In Kabbalistic thought, the body is seen as a vessel for the soul's divine mission on earth. The body of a great tzaddik, righteous person, like Moses, would be imbued with tremendous spiritual energy. Kabbalistic tradition holds that the burial site of such a person radiates holiness and can be a source of blessings. Did Satan wish to corrupt this source of divine energy, to taint the sanctity of Moses' resting place? The heavenly courtroom. Some mystical interpretations envision the dispute over Moses' body as a courtroom drama in the heavens, with Michael acting as the divine advocate and Satan as the prosecutor. In this cosmic trial, the stakes are the righteousness and destiny of God's chosen people. Moses, as their representative, becomes a focal point in this celestial legal battle. What arguments were made, and what deeper truths about justice, mercy, and divine authority were revealed in this heavenly courtroom? theological and symbolic implications. The struggle over Moses' body is not merely a curious footnote in biblical history. It carries profound theological and symbolic implications that resonate through the ages. The nature of holiness. Moses' body represents the intersection of the divine and the human. By contending for his remains, Satan may have been attempting to blur the lines between sacred and profane, to challenge the very nature of holiness. This battle serves as a reminder of the sanctity of those chosen by God and the ongoing struggle to preserve that holiness in a fallen world. The power of resurrection. Christian theology holds that the ultimate victory over death was achieved through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The dispute over Moses' body can be seen as a precursor to this victory, a skirmish in the larger war between life and death, between divine light and satanic darkness. Does this celestial conflict foreshadow the ultimate defeat of Satan and the triumph of resurrection life? The role of intercession. Michael's role as the defender in this celestial dispute underscores the importance of intercession. Just as Michael interceded on behalf of Moses, so too do angels and saints intercede for humanity. This episode highlights the belief in a spiritual dimension where battles are fought and won through divine advocacy and protection. Contemporary reflections and mystical insights. The story of Satan's battle for the body of Moses invites us to reflect on our own lives and the spiritual battles we face. It challenges us to consider the unseen forces at work and the importance of maintaining our own sanctity and purpose. The unseen battle. In Ephesians 6:12, we are reminded that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. The dispute over Moses' body is a vivid illustration of this unseen battle, a reminder that our lives are intertwined with cosmic forces beyond our comprehension. The sanctity of the body. Moses' body as a vessel of divine purpose highlights the importance of treating our own bodies with reverence. In a world that often devalues the physical, this story calls us to recognize the sacredness of our own flesh and blood, created in the image of God and destined for resurrection. The power of legacy. Moses' life and death remind us of the enduring power of legacy. His body, even in death, remained a point of contention because of the profound impact he had on God's people. What legacy are we leaving behind? How do our lives resonate in the spiritual realms, influencing the battles fought on our behalf? The celestial conflict over the body of Moses remains one of the Bible's most tantalizing mysteries. Through exploring ancient scriptures, mystical traditions, and theological insights, we gain a deeper appreciation for the profound significance of this event. It reminds us of the sanctity of God's chosen servants, the reality of the spiritual battles that shape our world, and the ultimate triumph of divine justice over the forces of darkness. As we contemplate this mystery, let us be inspired to live lives worthy of the divine calling, aware of the unseen battles fought on our behalf, and committed to leaving a legacy that honors the sanctity and purpose with which we have been endowed. In the end, the story of Moses' body is not just about a physical battle between celestial beings, but about the eternal struggle between good and evil, the sanctity of God's chosen leaders, and the ultimate triumph of divine wisdom over the cunning of the adversary. It serves as a timeless reminder of the importance of true worship, the power of God's grace, and the need for unwavering faith in the face of spiritual warfare.